Welcome to the Deal by Me podcast, where we ask guests to tell us your story. Hello there, this is Dr. James W. Smith, your host. So, when you listen to any of the Deal by Me podcasts, please support this podcast with a donation or a monthly recurring amount for as little as $3. To supporters of this podcast, we say thank you. Check out my encouraging, inspiring, and transforming books that can be found on Amazon. I'm available for speaking engagements, so please contact me by Facebook and or LinkedIn. I have with me Dalmo Cirne, who is the author of The Four Streams of Leadership. He says that when he transitioned into a leadership role, everything felt complicated because he wasn't prepared to manage a team, project, peers, upper management, or even himself. The fact is that great teams demand great leadership. I believe you're going to enjoy our interview today and what Dalmo has to say. So I want to just ask Dalmo now if he would share just a little bit about himself and where you are located.
Hello, James. I'm so happy to be here. It's great to have this conversation on your show. I'm calling you from the Denver area in Colorado.
Hmm.
We are having get to spot the Rocky Mountains from over here, and um it's a lovely day with a blue sky.
Oh, wow. Well, Damon, this is a good time to just talk about you and your book. I had a chance to kind of look over a little bit of your profile and just very interesting as I look at it, dealing with these four streams of leadership. So, one other thing I would like to ask you is what was it that inspired you or push you to say, I'm going to write this book? You know, and I don't know if you had the title in mind at the time that you decided to write it, but that must have been something. And I want listeners to kind of get a feel for what this may have been.
Absolutely. This is a project a decade in the making. So I've
Okay.
been taking my time to work through this, write lessons, and so on. But it all begins with a big problem and followed by a question of how many people are prepared to step into a position of leadership and be effective in doing their job.
Right.
I don't have a specific number, but what I have observed out there is that number is very small. The
Mhm.
percentage of people ready to step up and become a leader, i- it's a small number, and I wanted to do something about it. So we have an example from Peter Lawrence, Lawrence Peter, sorry. In 1969, he wrote that seminal book, The Peter Principle. And the Peter Principle is, I'm oversimplifying over here. I'm not doing justice to a great book, but basically what it's saying is that you get promoted to your level of incompetence.
Mhm.
And we all have heard that anecdote, right? But
Mhm.
I want to go one step further and say you don't work your whole life being competent. So just one fine day you wake up and you are incompetent. That story doesn't add up.
Mhm.
What adds up is you wake up and you find yourself one day in a position where you are unprepared for it.
Mhm.
But being unprepared, we can do something about it, right? It's a problem that if you know that, oh, I am competent, I'm just unprepared,
Mhm.
that's a completely different problem. It's a solvable problem that you can address by we prepare people, we set Here are the skills that you need. Here are the expectations from you. Here's a framework that is going to show you the ropes and is going to enable you to be effective in this new position of leadership and management.
Mm.
So that is the value proposition of the book. That's what inspired me to put the framework I developed to words and spend pretty much the last decade working on crafting this into a
Mhm.
beautiful piece of work that can help many, many people. So I hope.
Okay. Well, you've kind of gotten into the last question that I was going to ask. Not the last question, but the next question I was going to ask. Uh, because most time when people write, they write from the perspective of wanting to kind of uh, solve some problem that somebody have, or they are hoping that someone would take something from it. So, what is it about your book that you uh, hope somebody will take from it? Is there anything particularly?
Yes,
Is it
there are
okay?
many things we can get from the book.
Okay.
So one of the reasons why someone goes about writing a book is you will learn a lot more than you can teach. So
Mm,
by writing a book, I helped, first of all, my first customer was myself. I
okay.
learned a tremendous deal researching, doing the writing,
Hmm.
experimenting, trying hypotheses, and so on. So I became a better professional as a result.
Okay.
But it doesn't stop in there, right? If you had the chance to go into that position of leadership, you have those emotional, those human feelings of feeling lost, losing your identity because you used to be an expert on a field and now you're no more because the skills are different, right? You used to control the structure, you knew what to do, but now there are so many unknowns. Even your attachment to colleagues and those people you have the professional relationship, that changes because now there's a hierarchy that has been introduced. How you
Mm,
deal with that, right? Then the way you manage your time, the way now that you have to do delegations and combine all of that, there is a natural reaction of rejection in saying, oh, management is not for me. I was not cut for this. But it's just not true. All those reactions are a coping mechanism to a situation where if you were better prepared, you would be embracing and saying,
mhm,
oh no, I'm having fun doing this. Here are so many new things that I can learn and I can be effective. I can grow
mhm,
professionally. I just need to know a roadmap, a
mm.
breadcrumb, some path that I can follow. And that's where the book comes in
Okay.
and shows the framework where you can go into that position, be prepared, and have fun. Rather than those negative emotions, you can bring the positive emotions with you, right? In being effective, an effective leader.
Okay. I like that. I was struck when I was reading something in your profile, and it kind of said something to me. And what it said was when I transitioned into leadership, and I think I said that in the beginning when I was introducing you, uh, everything felt complicated because I wasn't
Mhm.
prepared to manage a team project, peers, upper management, or even myself. I had spent the first 20 years of my career as an individual contributor. Technical proudness alone wouldn't cut it uh, to get the job done. But this is what struck me. He said, I soon learned that many friends and colleagues also struggle in management role. I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, that's also one of the reasons why you felt, look, I need to write a book. Maybe this will help not only my friends and colleagues, but somebody else also. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, it is
Okay.
correct, right? It is
Okay.
a problem of scale.
Okay.
So I had been experimenting with frameworks and does this work or not? I was in that phase of learning it myself, experimenting some ideas, and many of them did work. It
Okay.
was causing the result, and people were asking, what are you doing? What has been working for you? How did you tackle problem XYZ? And of course, they were my friends, and I sit down and start working with them, explaining how it is. And I was able to help one person, two people, 10 people, right? But
Mhm.
that scale, it doesn't grow much more than a couple dozen people, right?
Right. I got
With a book, now we can scale that
hmm
to many, many more people. I
Right.
can speak to some people I may never meet,
Right.
yet I will be able to make a difference in their lives. I will be able to help, even though we're never going to meet in person.
hmm
So that solving that the problem of scale is one of the reasons the book came into existence.
Okay. Make a lot of sense. Uh, I also was noting that you talked about the challenges. Uh, Leadership lives in a world of constant change, causing many of us to feel unprepared to deal with the demands and experiences of the job. These are universal common problems managers face. And you talk about some of those things. Are you, can you maybe paint a picture or give some some picture of what some of those challenges might be? I mean, you list some, but for somebody who is not reading and just listening to, can you just talk to them a little bit about maybe a few of them?
Let's do it.
Okay.
That's the fun part. All right. Um, so let's begin with the title of the book.
Okay.
When you're working, especially in management, there is a flow of activities that are always coming to you or going from you to someone else. That flow is constant. It reminds you of a perennial river, right? So that's why it came the streams, because it represents all those activities, all those things that you have to do, and you're doing that on a perennial basis.
hmm
You start with yourself. That's what I call the reservoir. You're managing yourself. Then you're managing downstream, which is your team, your projects, and operations. You're managing upstream. You're not telling your manager what to do, but there's a lot of communication that needs to take place over there, and we can optimize those. And last but not least, you're managing side stream. You're networking with your peers. You're collaborating with them on certain projects. You're working, for example, with the legal team to define compliance of products and so on. So there's a lot to be done in all those domains. But let's work on a particular example. Let's start with yourself. A company will have a culture, but your team will have a subculture inside of the company's culture, right?
hmm
And culture, I'm sorry, swallowed a frog over here. Uh, you have the company culture and you have a subculture inside of the company culture. And it is a space that hates a void. If you don't establish the culture will be established for you. But the result of letting the culture establish itself usually is not good. It ends
hmm
up going all possible ways, and you end up not with what you want.
Okay.
But let's define what culture is. Culture is not having a ping pong table or going out on a Friday night to eat a slice of pizza and talk about the weather. It's not that. Culture is those sets of values where people act when you're not in the room and the outcome is the intended one. You have a customer issue or a system downtime or whatever it is, people know that, hey, folks, let's gather together and work on this and come up with a solution. And the solution would be pretty much in alignment with the solution that would have been if you were in the room. Now
Mhm.
you have establishment of a good culture, right? That people are aligned on understanding of values and what to do. All right, but then let's follow that thread of establishing the culture and going to assembling your team where we're going downstream, right? We're
Mhm.
going downstream, you have to assemble your team. Now you have, imagine a sports team, right? You cannot have everyone playing the same position.
Mhm.
Imagine that everyone is a quarterback. Well, who are you going to throw the ball to? It's a big question, right? How are you going to
Mhm.
score? So not everyone can be in the same position. You have to
Mhm.
spread them on the field, and each person will be playing a role.
Mhm.
The same is true for the corporate environment, for companies, right? And in my framework, I'm proposing three key roles. The first one is a visionary.
Mhm.
The second one is the implementer. And the third one is the forwarder. The visionary, you don't need many of those
Mhm.
because, well, a visionary is the one who can understand conceptually what the problem is, coming up with, hey, here's what the solution is going to be. That is what's going to become a great product or a great service. You don't need too many visionaries in the same way you don't need many quarterbacks, but
Mhm.
you don't want just one because you can get injured. You can want to go on vacation and
Mhm.
but you don't need many.
Mhm.
Then you need the implementers. Those are the people who say, I see this, I know how to build that, and here's how it's going to be done. And the thing is, a product is made of many parts, and you can split those parts and have different people building things in parallel. So now you're gaining efficiencies of scale. And last but not least, the forwarder or the closer are those people that don't get distracted by a new flashy project that just came up, but they maintain focus until the task is done, right? Many
Okay.
people, they are at the tail end of a project and the new thing comes up and they say, oh, shiny, and they start running in the other direction. It's like,
Mhm.
no, no, you do need to push across the finish line. But in
Mhm.
reality is everyone ends up playing all three roles, but each person will have a predominant role that they will play.
Okay.
The manager included. Sometimes the manager is the forwarder. Sometimes the manager is the visionary. Sometimes the manager is the implementer, right? It depends on what are the affinities of the people. But as a leader and you are assembling the team, you need to understand the needs of the team and
Mhm.
how you're going to assemble with peoples that fall predominantly in each one of the personas, right? And you're going to work with everyone. But
Mhm.
a visionary still has to work on implementation, still has to work on pushing things, but they're going to be, let's say, 80% visionary, but they still need to do and go do the rest of the work. So
I
that
got
is a
you.
good thread that we could
Mhm.
follow that we covered both the self and
Mhm.
downstream, right? Those
Okay.
practical examples that you have to pay attention to
Mm.
when you are in a position of leadership.
Okay. I got you, and I understand exactly what you're saying. Let me ask you this because I'm curious, and I know listeners will be curious. When you talk about the four streams of leadership, uh, would what would you say and tell listeners those four streams are in just a brief kind of a statement? What are they? And I know you detail them in your book, and you will detail them as you talk about them. But in terms of an outline, what would be those four streams of leadership?
Let me make a metaphor and come back to answer your exact
Okay,
question.
okay.
Imagine you need to go to the supermarket, grocery shopping, and you hop on
Mhm.
your car. Which part of your car is most important? Is it the engine or is it the steering wheel?
Mm. Okay.
Right? Without the engine, you can't move. Without the steering wheel, you can't drive the car, right?
Right.
So
Right.
the answer is yes. It's not, there's no most important part. You need both.
Uh-huh.
What the four streams are is what you need to be an effective leader,
Okay.
right? First, you need to be effective, then, you have to be efficient. Effectiveness is the output you and your team produce. Efficiency is the ratio of output to input,
Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
So if you have more input, you have to have more output, or little input produces a lot more output, right? That's where
Mhm.
efficiency comes in. But to get to efficiency, first you have to be effective. So the four streams of leadership is what you need to be effective in leadership.
Is that considered what you would call the concepts of the four streams of leadership, what you're talking about? Or is that something different?
No, it is the same thing
Okay,
because
okay,
in each of these streams, we will need to break it down into the details of what composes that stream,
okay, okay.
right? When you're managing yourself, what are the most important things in managing yourself? Same for downstream, same for upstream, and same for side stream,
Mm,
right? We're going to go deep into each one of these streams,
mm,
but in the end of the day, you do need to master all of them.
mm. Wow.
It's the same thing with the steering wheel and the engine. You need both.
Okay. So what we're really talking about here for listeners who, get this good listening ear is we're talking about the reservoir, the downstream, the upstream, and the side stream.
That is correct.
All right, all right. I think we got you. Uh, Demo, share with listeners how they can learn a little bit more about you if you have a website, and where they can get your book, The Four Streams of Leadership.
I would love to invite everyone to visit my website. It is dalmocirne.com. It's spelled DALMOCIRNE.com. From my website, you can have access to the book, where to buy. You have access to several articles and essays I have published, all my social media profiles. You can book a conversation with me. Very simple. There's a calendar over there. You pick a spot there's available, schedule a conversation with me. And if you want to continue this conversation, there's a very convenient place for you to send me a message. I would love to hear from everyone, and I reply to all messages. So that is my invitation to your
Okay.
listeners to come visit the website, see what there speaks volume to you, and yeah, let's continue this conversation.
Mm. Oh, this is very, very interesting, Delmo. Uh, is there a quick lesson that you can share with listeners?
Yeah, let's do a lesson you can apply today,
Okay.
right? Usually, when we are working on a project, there are items in a backlog. You define a project and you have a backlog with all the tasks you have planned for it. What happens in practice is many of those tasks that they're not ready to be executed. There is information missing. So whomever picks up that task has to go chase someone else, ask questions, clarifications. What really do I need to do? All that time is it could have been optimized
Hmm.
with productive time instead of chasing information. Now, imagine that in 1 year, a year has 52 weeks, but then you take time off, you have holidays, you may be sick here and there. Just a back of the envelope calculation, let's assume 40 really solid productive weeks per year. And let's say that everyone picks one task per week. So you're talking about 40 tasks per week. And now you're chasing people, you're asking questions, you're figuring out what to do. Instead, if you optimize your backlog as a leader and say, all the tasks over here will have all the information you need to execute them. So you pick a task, you go and you execute because they are ready to go. Optimistically, or even like being very conservative, not even optimistic, but very conservative. You were talking about a gain of 10% at least. So now instead of 40 tasks per year, you're doing 44 tasks a year.
Okay.
And you're not asking anyone to work any harder or any longer or any smarter. You're just preparing things better for you.
Mm.
Now, if you are a startup and you gained from 40 to 44 tasks per person per year, that may mean that your product stands out against everyone else and you become that unicorn startup, right? You become the winner in your field. If you are a larger company, you are getting ahead of your competition, you get more market share. So
Hmm.
here we're talking about the lesson that you can apply today in your job that gain can give your team a gain in productivity without having to ask anyone to work any harder or any longer or any smarter, or it's just a simple optimization that gets overlooked. So to your listeners, take this one to the bank, apply it today, and
Hmm.
you're going to see the performance improvements right there.
Oh, I
The
love it.
results are visible.
I love it. Dalmo, thank you so very much for coming on the Deal by Me podcast and sharing this great information to listeners. I know everybody, they do appreciate your sharing, and I personally feel that they would really benefit from just checking your website out and also your book. And so again, I want to say thank you. And
It has been a pleasure. It was a
yeah,
phenomenally good conversation.
thank you. And so there you have it. Dalmo Cirne sharing with us today. And until next time, peace and blessings be with each of you.